Let me tip that down a little bit. Look at my high production values. The most common question I am asked, sorry about that, is how long should you let sinew cure? And my short answer is there is no real short answer. I'm not going to do a lot of takes because I've got stuff to do. There is no short answer. Let us consider two bows at the opposite extreme. The first bow, made out of a lesser bowwood. White cedar, for example, is about as lesser bowwood as you can get. If I was to sinew back it, I would not put a power layer on it. I would not do multiple layers. The sole intent of that sinew layer is just to keep the back from cracking. If I stunt the sinew in its curing, which means before it's fully dry, I'm using it, I'm stretching it out, and I continue to stretch it, that sinew is not allowed to shrink all the way and perform to the utmost of its abilities. And so I would just let it cure long enough to dry, basically, and sinew starts to get kind of translucent, and it gets hard and it shrinks down. You start seeing gaps forming, which allow you to see the wood between the strands. If you stunt the layer on that, that's good, because the more power that sinew can impart onto the bow, the more pressure you're going to put on the belly. And in the case of a lesser bowwood, it's already right, probably at its maximum abilities to have to support compression. And so, a week and a half, 2 weeks, let it see some sunshine. That's good. It's dried by that point, not fully cured, but it's dried, and that's good enough for a lesser bowwood, white cedar, catalpa, something like that. If it was reaction wood of white cedar, like a branch, it has very dense, fine grain, maybe go a little more because it can support more compression, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about maximizing it. In fact, it's a benefit to start using it before it's fully cured. On the other end of the extreme, horn bows. Not sinew backed with leg tendons, because you want to reduce the amount of joints. Backstrap can almost go the full length of a short-limbed horn bow. Don't use leg tendons in that case. Use backstrap. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about making horn bows. But if you flip it over, you've got horn in the belly, which has an amazing ability to withstand compression. So you're not going to overload it, and you want to maximize it. And so in that case, that extreme, you want to let it cure for, what's the minimum? In a relatively dry climate, you can bake it, over a wood stove on a rack. 6 to 8 months. It's a long time, but you'll reap the benefits because that sinew has shrunk all the way. It's bonded together, so it's not going to stretch out and then separate. You got to wait a long time. So those are the two extremes. Now, very few of you are working with catalpa or white cedar. Very few of you, if any, are making horn bows. And if you're a horn bow maker, you don't need to watch my videos, because that is the apex of bow making as far as technicality. What we're concerned about is the stuff in the middle. Now, that stuff in the middle goes between that white cedar with just a protection layer to that horn bow that has the maximum amount of tensional ability, making use of every bit of that sinew's ability to be elastic and impart the greatest amount of tensional oomph into that bow. This is in the middle, and there's a spectrum between a week and a half and 2 weeks and 6 months. And now you have to think about a few things. You have to think about the bow's ability to withstand tension, or compression. You have to think about, is it going to be a total power layer, or is it going to be a protection layer, just to keep your bow from breaking, with, some added zip? And what is the range of that? This kind of falls in the middle. As sinew cures, you start going into reflex. This had deflex, but you can see that it's not only going in the reflex, but you're getting recurve. And that's a neat feature of sinew, thin bow, wide limbs, is that sinew seems to be able to act more, you know, towards the tips. One reason is because it's tapering, so it's thinner wood. Same amount of sinew here, so kind of a, you know, squared function, or if you want to get mathematical, and acts more in here. It's able to act more on that thin wood, so you go into even some recurving. Now this is kind of in the middle, and I apologize if I'm not giving you any specific answer, but I can't give you a specific answer. It depends on a lot of things. Not only, say, you know, the compressional ability of your wood, how much sinew you have, your purpose for it, the draw weight, your local climate conditions, you know, humidity, does it see sunshine while it's in the drying process? Do you stick it over a wood stove on a rack and let it bake? There's so many variables. This has been curing for about a month and a week. I don't know. I'll have to check my videos to see when I repaired it. But about a month and a week. And I'm starting to get into the range where if I don't mind stunting the sinew, if it's not fully cured, separating it a little bit, stretching it out a little bit, that's not going to then respond, that's fine, because I don't want to maximize this. This bow started out in life with the ability to withstand a draw length approximately half of its length. So it's a tremendous bow. It was probably at the maximum 45 pounds in draw weight. With the added sinew on this, one full layer, and then a second full layer side to side, and then a center layer that kind of humps it. 3 layers, 2.5 layers, because that center layer didn't go side to side. It probably has gotten up to 60 pounds, you know, at a similar draw length. And so I'm stressing the belly more. At this point, with this wood, even though it's tamarisk, salt cedar, it has the same hardness as a hard maple. I don't want to maximize the amount of compression, strain on this bow, or stress on this bow. Stress is, you know, the pressure that's acting upon it, and then strain is the actual failure. I don't want to maximize it. So given the amount of reflex it's gained, given the fact that it's tamarisk, an unknown quantity for me, given the fact that this is a power layer, 2.5 layers, you know, at this point, after a month in a day, 55% humidity, never seeing any sunshine, I would say that I would feel comfortable starting the final tiller. I'm sure it's pretty close to the tiller, because I didn't even sinew layer on an even tiller bow to begin with. I'd feel comfortable. Probably be better for me in my Michigan climate, the season, 55% humidity, not seeing any sunshine, 2 months, to really be confident that I've given that sinew enough time. There's no easy answer. Probably, you know, if you're not in the Sonoran Desert that's 5% humidity and gets a lot of sunshine, you know, you could probably, if you're not concerned with maximizing that sinew, if it's seen a lot of sunshine and very low humidity, baked above wood stove, you know, a month in a week, you're going to start seeing a reflex. That's the best I can say. If this was Osage or mulberry that has, probably, because this is the first bow I've ever seen made out of tamarisk, I don't know, I'm guessing, just at the hardness. You might as well go with the 2.5 layers, maximize it. And so my advice to you with an Osage or mulberry or some really, really good bow wood, you know, 3 months. That would be the minimum. And it's kind of a patience kind of a thing. Do your sinew backing, put the bow away, forget about it, and in that time, if you want to have a bow to shoot, make a self bow. But definitely, minimum between 2 and 3 months. If you're not worried about maximizing it, you could probably cut a little bit of time off. But that's the best I can do. I'm sorry. You know, no easy answer. Okay. Now, I am a sinew backer, and so I've developed this patience. Plus, I've got a lot of bows that I could use if I wanted to shoot. And so that kind of extends to, you know, Newell and Bridget and Eli's bows. Yes, it's like, I'll have them done in three weeks, but unfortunately I've kind of developed, because of the sinew backing, I'm going to blame sinew backing and the patience involved in it, that my 3 weeks actually could equal 3 months. You know, in the case of Newell and Bridget, yeah, I mean, poor Bridget and her boyfriend have waited a lot longer than that. But it's kind of like construction. How much is it going to cost to redo my garage? $5,000. And if you've ever been involved in construction, you really know that that's like going to be $15,000. It just kind of works out that way. But bows are patient kind of animals, so please bear with me. As far as commission work, I can't promise anything. You know, my job is so seasonal. I'm waiting for the shredded bark that could come today. And so there's very little time here. So I'm not going to commit to any more commission bows. You know, my goal is to make 1 or 2 a month. But those are strictly going to be, here's a bow, who wants it? I'm not committing to any more bows because the time could be vast and I just feel bad saying it's going to be done now and it's going to actually be done a lot further away in time. Okay, last bit. You notice that I do videos of a certain topic and then I take them down. It's not that I'm afeard of like debates and stuff like that. First and foremost, I don't really consider them debates for various reasons. But I am mentioning this because in the process of my last 3 videos on this subject, which I stand behind, you know, everything I said I stand behind. The one really struck me because it would make a really great earth science experiment with a group of schools around an area like Australia. Australia's neat. It's a big island, a big continent, and so that would be cool. So picture this. You have a group of high schools around the perimeter of Australia. This is a group project. This is not just one person going and doing something. Like surveying, eliminating statistical errors. There are ways of doing things. And so having a lot of data points is the key element in this. And so if you're in education, somehow bring this up to school systems, your national school system or whatever. This would be a great group project. And so you take all these high school kids that are around the perimeter of Australia. I'm going to use Australia because North America, you can't go to the north. You'd be like, you know, in the Bering Sea. But Australia, all these high schools, they go and they plant a similar length post. The longer, the better, because more accuracy. And so say, you know, everyone's got a 15-foot pole. Every school has a 15-foot pole. All the way around. Group project, a lot of data points, not just one school system. And so they plant their poles, and on the hour, every hour throughout daylight period, they go there, they measure the direction and distance of the shadow from the sun. They mark it down. Then they take all of that, blending earth science with physics, / math, because physics and math, you know, are brother and sister, first cousins, kissing cousins. and factor in the data, the curve of the earth, and then do their calculations that I'm not even going to mention what results they can get from that, because I'm sure that you can take that experiment like a lot of experiments and then find more things about that, more deductions than, you know, you at first intended to find. It'd be a wonderful way to do some actual measurements of things, combining school systems, so it's a group project. And also, when I taught, I always did my best to blend subjects, to get things, do a holistic approach. So you take a subject of earth science, you add physics to it, you add math, obviously, math and physics, and then you write it out. And I actually would, when I was doing experiments with my students, expect them to write up the full scientific, the process. Not just take a check sheet, you know, with multiple answers or fill in the blanks and stuff. I also expected them to be literate. And so, believe it or not, in a physical science class that I would be teaching, an example of physical science, you know, instead of earth science or physics or whatever, the students would have to actually write it up. Grammar, spelling, and so it was actually like pretty, you know, visually pretty, correct as far as their use of English, because, you know, English-speaking country here. Correct in their scientific process, correct numbers, and even when I taught math, you know, some people write really small. they're really sloppy with their numbers. And so when, say I was teaching algebra or something like that, they would have to actually do all the steps, and it would have to be legible, and one formula per line as you're going through and doing it, you know, leaving no stone unturned. And so, again, I think this would be a valuable lesson in not only blending the subjects, but grouping schools together so they're cooperating, you know, a holistic approach to education. So if you're in education, I was joking, you don't have to call it the Riggs experiment. I would like that so I could get that Rolls-Royce Wraith. But propose that to your school board, or in my case, maybe the Michigan Educational Association, so then they could extend that to the national. I actually have met Betsy DeVos, so, you know, regardless on your politics, you know, she has the ability to, like, take that idea if she likes it and then run with it to the schools around the coast. But that's enough. That's all I'm going to say. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you for watching. This is bonus. When I repaired this bow, I did a spiral wrap here. The fracture on the back was right here. The fracture on the belly was down here. And so I supported those fractures and then did a spiral wrap to support the glue joint along there. Now I could leave it at that, or I could take and do a similar wrap right here so it's symmetrical, because I've got this Midland paint job. I could also do it right here and then right in here. As it stands now, I kind of like just a single one because it represents something to me. This beautiful bow that John made, and then I broke it. Doing something stupid. No reflection on John. I mean, his lines, his proportions are amazing. And this was an amazing bow to begin with. Amazing self bow because it could support a draw length half of the total length of the bow. That's something. That is something. That's the mark of a good bow maker. But me, John, not Arizona John, did a knothead thing and just drew it back too far on a stupid impulse before I had my morning coffee. Busted it, was able to repair it because it was a beautiful break. Decent wood. Tamarisk is as hard maple, so I'm going to let this wait a little bit. I'm going to let it wait maybe another week or two before I start stressing it. And then you shall see me shooting this with Lucius's arrows. Lucius made beautiful arrows. I'm going to show those being fired from this bow. I think it would be a good match set. I talk too much. I've got things to do. I've enjoyed my time with you this morning. Have a good one.